Hello everyone, my name is Christina and my co-authors are Jaleesa Trapp, Craig Hanning, and Mitchell Resnick from Lifelong Kindergarten. Today I will be talking to you about testing the creative potential of Pixel Play through workshops. So what is Pixel Play? Pixel Play is a new technology which allows users to program LED light displays using scratch blocks. These lights can then be attached to toys, clothing, or other objects to make interactive games and activities. The research we did this summer was important for a few reasons. Firstly, little testing had been done on Pixel Play prior to this summer. And secondly, for a technology to be considered successful or useful in lifelong kindergarten, it needs to be able to support a wide range of projects. So, we needed to start testing this technology in a workshop setting, which is where most of our user testing takes place. Some questions we thought about when we started to design the workshop were, firstly, how might we design an ideal work environment for youth in order to maximize creativity when learning about emerging technologies? Secondly, how might we understand the range of possible uses for Pixel Play through providing children with an ideal creative work environment? And finally, how can we design technologies that allow youth to create meaningful projects with programmable lights? But before getting started on designing a workshop, I needed to have a strong understanding of how creative learning works in lifelong kindergarten. Two of the main components are the creative learning spiral and wide walls. The creative learning spiral seeks to encourage youth to experiment and explore their ideas rather than come up with a plan straight away. This often leads to people discovering things they otherwise wouldn't have. Wide walls is another essential component. Along with a low floor, meaning it's easy to get started on a project, and high ceilings, meaning a project can become more complex over time, a technology also needs to have wide walls, meaning there are a variety of paths that someone can take with a single technology. In addition to understanding these two components, I also gained a thorough understanding of the 4 Ps as outlined in Dr. Resnick's book, Lifelong Kindergarten, and the Learning Creative Learning online course. The 4 Ps are projects, which emphasizes letting people make their own projects rather than just interacting with technology; passion, where you let people work on projects that are meaningful to them; peers, where you provide a space that is naturally collaborative; and play, where you give people plenty of room to explore and experiment. This leads to our interviews. To collect workshop design best practices, interviews were conducted with 7 experts in or surrounding the field of creative learning. These tips were then put into practice through a playtest session. So using what I learned through the literature review and the expert interviews, I set up a playtest with 2 college students. The first important practice in any workshop is having the workshop space set up so that it's accessible and encourages experimentation. There should be a variety of materials. All packages should be open and in plain sight, and seats and tables should be set up to be naturally collaborative. Going along with this, dollar store materials are a great resource because they are cheap, meaning you can get a lot of them, and people won't be afraid to mess them up. The next thing to keep in mind is your workshop theme. The theme should be general enough that a variety of projects can be made, but specific enough that people have an easy time getting started. For this playtest, the theme was, pick your favorite summer activity and figure out how you can change it or enhance it with lights. A few example projects should also be shown at the beginning of the workshop to help spark ideas. A final few things to be mindful of. If someone asks you for help, you should resist the urge to give them the answer directly, and definitely don't take over whatever they're doing. And while playing is important and very fun, there should always be time saved at the end for reflections. This is where you get a lot of insight into how people feel about a new technology, as well as what they did with it. While this was a small playtest, we gained a lot of insight into what could be improved. On the hardware end, people wanted to be able to take in an input and use it to output specific light configurations. Our solution to this was to add a motion sensor to the board. For the software, people wanted the ability to make their code more complex. So for this, we added an if statement block. And finally, for the workshop itself, one participant had a really hard time getting started with the code. So to make getting started easier in the future, we will include mini cards, which include short snippets of code you can copy. We achieved some great things during this project, but there's still a lot to do. Our immediate next steps are to move on to larger workshop settings where we can test the changes we've implemented. And besides that, we'll continue iterating on the design and experience of Pixel Play. Thank you.